Good morning, everyone. Think of it as an extra tool in your toolbox for beekeeping. There's a list on our website at extractandbox.com if you go to For the Beekeeper, and it'll give you all the recent published articles about gamma radiation. So AFB spores can be killed off at 10 gamma rays, and then the certificate that we get out of Salem, New Jersey comes back at 16 as the last round. So you can go through that list and it'll work out what diseases that it deactivates the spores at. AFB, if it transfers through this area, could keep going right the way through the county and extend on. At the moment it's isolated out towards Coatesville, however it has potential to spread. Okay? So the easiest way it spreads is actually from beekeeper to beekeeper, with transfer of old equipment or in your own operation with not sterilizing your hive tools or wearing disposable gloves. To give you an idea of AFB, I had testing done in New Zealand about 7 years ago. It can transfer on bee venom because we manufacture bee venom down there. So it's highly contagious once you've got it. The spore count can be active in your hives before it's visualized. So it actually requires a very high spore count before you'll get the ropey test, which is the first stage of seeing it. So not to scare anyone, but if you're buying old equipment from someone, the cost of getting it gamma radiated is about $5 a deep. So if you've got old frames that are drawn out where you're trying to get a season ahead with that wax, it's a very cheap option for sterilizing it as a safeguard. We do a group gathering where we stack it up, the boxes come in wrapped, then it all goes through down to Salem, New Jersey. It takes about 10 days and it's $5 a deep, so it's based on volume. Any questions?
So we usually hold an auction, right? So we've been holding auctions for many years, and basically you're shaking your head, Keith. No auction?
I guess you do the
Right. So this is where this is going. So we've held an auction pretty much every year for years. So people getting out of beekeeping, I collect the stuff. It sits up in my barn, and then we have a spring auction, and people get incredible deals on used equipment. We're currently thinking, because of this and because we've probably done it before, we may want to take all that equipment that comes to auction and irradiate it before we auction it. That's being considered. Of course, there would be an expense to that, and we'd have to figure out how we would cover the expense of that. But anyway, just to let people know, because surely we don't want to be sort of, contributing to a potential problem. Yes?
Yes, it can. So you can actually entomb the spores by using in the boxes by doing it that way, but it's more the residue and the wax on the frames that you have to worry about. So those spores can last anywhere up to 50 to 70 years in your equipment. Yeah, they keep extending it. Any other questions?
So I think, it's definitely, you guys do that in the spring?
We do. So this year it was a little bit later because the spring was like, it was a long winter, right? So it gave people more time to get around. I think we had 12 pellets go down last year. I usually send 2 pellets a year myself. It's just one of those volume things. If we get more than 7, it becomes quite cost efficient. But our company will do it anyway, just because for us it's a useful tool. The other consideration is catching swarms in the area. So feral colonies can also transfer AFB, right? So if you're catching swarms in the coastal area, I would recommend not doing it this year coming through. And let's get a year under the belt for that area and see if there's any further transfer. So far it's only on a single colony, but that was purchased into the yard this year. So the other thing to do is, if you're buying in colonies, get a copy of the certificate of inspection. Make sure you're actually buying gear that's been inspected. Okay, just double safeguard yourself. Once you've got AFB, it's actually hard to get it out of your operation. Yes?
Do the CCBA colonies have inspection certificates on them? I'm thinking about the nukes that Ferris mentioned, maybe setting over the winter. I'm concerned about the traffic in and out of
Yeah, so
Regulations, are there any restrictions now for moving in and out of Chester?
not at the county itself. The individual apiary yard is restricted, so the owner of the property can't transfer. He's got 2 yards, so he can't transfer gear between the two. Nothing can go in or out. The club's yard is inspected in the spring. However, I would be concerned about European foulbrood with the amount of rain that we've had. That is actually treatable, so you can actually treat that. You can requeen, but you get a lot of the other associated diseases like snot brood can happen at the same time once. We've got a nutritional imbalance in the area. So Coatesville, for example, had, depending on the site and the measurement, has had anywhere between 9 and 12 inches of rain over that 1 month. So that nutrition deficit is also will have an AFB potential outbreak. You usually only see it in the spring when there's lots of water, but we've got different environmental circumstances at the moment.
Yeah, so we shouldn't be moving these hives out of Chester County into, obviously,
Yeah,
Delaware.
so even if you're going to Delaware, you need an interstate permit to get it across the state line.
Yeah, just to follow up, that was a problem last year with the Bluebird.
Yeah.
We couldn't stop it, they're not inspecting, that was a violation.
Yeah, no, you know,
Like, it's actually not hard to get an interstate permit. So once you actually have Jeff come out and he inspects your yards, it's just asking for that request of paperwork. So you've actually met the process of doing it. You just need to get that paperwork through. And with it, when you take the hives over a state line, basically you have to apply, say going down to Delaware to Emily White, who's a state apiarist there, and you basically fill out a document where the hives are going to go so they can track it. It's all about tracking with beekeeping.
Yeah, and the problem has been getting the paperwork executed out of the state. So that you have to have that with you when you transport bees. And that's been a problem.
Yeah, so the other thing now is the spotted lanternfly certificate too. You should be looking at having one of those if you're transferring out. So we're inside the quarantine zone, but if you're going to go down to Delaware, which is on the edge of the border for the spotted lanternfly, you want a certificate there too. Okay. Any other questions? We're all good. Okay,
Great.
so just to wrap it up, watch buying second-hand equipment, especially if it's been sitting around for a very long time. Sometimes it might be generational equipment where the parent used to beekeep, and the person selling it's got no idea of the history of it. Look for, when you're getting equipment, if the cells are really quite small and you've got entombed cells on there, that gear is not efficient to put in the beehive anyway. If you want to buy new this coming year, either Keith or myself, we usually buy pallet loads of plastic frames in from Perico, and they're extremely cheap. I think they're about $1.60 a frame. So you don't always have to buy second-hand gear to get up and going. Okay?
thanks.
I can be reached on email. My personal is ferristj@hotmail.com, or you can send me a text, 484-678-8569. Justin?
This program is available to members of the Guild and Moscow.
It's available, yeah. So we actually have guys out of New York. We cover about 5 states. So this is actually the only program in the country that's currently working with gamma radiation. So it was originally set up in Montgomery County. Mark Antunes, I think, set it up originally. So he's kind of retired from it from last year. I've been running with the program for about 4 or 5 years. I like it. I use it. I consider it just as an extra tool in the toolbox. So
Is the video still up on the SCBA website, available to the public, just to reference, how you prep the box?
yes, it is. So if you go to the Montgomery website, they've got an irradiation link that you can go to, and then they also have a link to our website. Karen Rockaseka, and who's the state apiarist for PA, she will have a letter go out from us. At the same time, the Pennsylvania State Beekeeping Association has a link you can read up on there. So it's also a fascinating read if you're just into research. So we've listed every publication of what's there at the moment with gamma radiation.
And are you still doing anything with any type of storage in any amount of box? Has to be fully trash bagged, taped up?
Trash bagged and taped up, because I don't want to have known transfer coming into my yard too, right? So I don't want to have that disease. No one really wants to have that disease. So we like it to come in sealed. It's either depending on your volume, whether it's a full pallet or if it's in a single individual box. It just needs to be wrapped tight. And that's then is compliant with Karen Rockaseka with the state APRES with transfer of diseases.
So regardless of what's in the frame or what's in the box, everybody.
Everything's got to be wrapped. Yeah. Okay. So if it's coming in individually wrapped, all we do is put it on the pallet with the rest of the stuff. It's marked with your name on it, and then we take it down to New Jersey. It takes about a week. Comes back. We give you a call when it's ready, and you come and pick it up. Okay. It's pretty straightforward. Hey guys, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Tim.